Miller.
Here. What if I said absent? We'll stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. And we need a motion to approve the minutes. Moved by Commissioner Cavell, seconded by Commissioner Markham. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Now we have the approval of the agenda. Moved by Commissioner Wiper, seconded by Commissioner Spiz. We have to do, is it?
You can do voice votes on
All right, but all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. At this time, we'll open up for public comment. You have 3 minutes if you want to speak to the committee. Seeing no public comment, one more time, we will call public comment closed. We do have 3 communications. We have, first communication is Facility Planning and Engineering Quarterly Reports. Second one is the MVAA County Training Reimbursement Grant. And the third one is Wayne County Commission Resolution number 22048. Need a motion to approve, or to move. Moved by Commissioner Cavell.
That's for it.
All right, seconded by Commissioner Wiper. Was that a discussion, Commissioner Smith? Okay. Do a prompt to vote, please.
You have 6 days, your nays.
All right. All 3 passed. Now we have the consent agenda. We have one item on the consent agenda, the fiscal year 2022 appropriations with the City of Oak Park for Tri-Party Road Improvement Program, project number 56461. Moved by Commissioner Charles, seconded by Commissioner Cavell. Prompt to vote, please.
Very appropriate.
You have 6 days, 0 nays.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have the regular agenda. The first agenda item is the approval of the 2022 No-Haz Interlock Local Agreement. Moved by Commissioner Spiz, second by Commissioner Charles. Discussion. We have here,
Good morning, Commissioners.
good morning.
I'm Brett Razzing, and I'm the Manager of Planning and Local Business Development, and with me is Whitney Callio. Whitney is a Principal Planner on staff, and she runs our No-Haz program. I'd like to give you a couple of highlights from 2021. I think most of you know basically what it is. It's a program that allows households in Oakland County to properly dispose of household hazardous waste. In 2021, we had 4 collections. We had a total of 4,400 participants. 39% of those participants said they were participating for the first time, which is good. What that tells us, we're reaching new people each year. We collected 650,000 pounds of materials in 2021. Oh boy, we had an average per weight, weight per car of about 150 pounds. And since the program's inception in 2003, we've collected over 8 million pounds of household hazardous waste, and our vendor properly disposes of that waste or recycles that waste. Couple of items for 2022. We're planning 4 collections in 2022. 2 will be at the county campus, 1 in Oxford and 1 in Orion Township. And we also have added 2 new communities this year, so we'll have a total of 17 cities, villages, and townships participating. So the program has grown a little bit from last year. We do use an online registration system, and we found that last year, overall, 79% of the participants pre-registered online, which really helps us the day of the event. It makes things go much smoother. With that, I'd be happy, and Whitney would be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Commissioner Wiper.
So that's great. 39% of the 4,400 were new?
Yes.
That's awesome. Did you attribute that to advertising or getting the word out or people being home and able to clean out their houses? Or, is there any rhyme or reason?
It may be just good luck, Commissioner, but Whitney, what do you think about that?
I wanted to say that I think all of those reasons you just mentioned, but I think in general, people are becoming more interested and concerned with what they're doing environmentally. So I think maybe that attributes to it as well.
And just,
Yeah, you got the floor.
Just follow what, there must be people who show up with things that aren't allowed. Let's say that somebody shows up with from an old farmer with a bottle of mercury or something. What, do you steer them to other places to make sure they don't dump it? They want to get rid of it, make sure they're attuned and getting rid of it properly?
Yeah.
Or medications, or you send them to the sheriff's office?
Yeah, we do. I hand out a lot of cards at the events to have people follow up with me if there are things we turn them away with. And some items they bring are just too large to be collected at the event, so then we just steer them to our vendor's facility. Sometimes it's just general recyclables that they bring, which we do not accept at the collection event. So, we just steer them to what we know or give them follow-up information so they can contact us when we're back in the office.
Okay. All right, thank you.
So like I said, Commissioner Charles and Commissioner Marco following.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Brett. It's good to see you. I'm inquiring actually about the portion of the contract that says municipalities' responsibilities. That's the municipality, the Oxford, the Orion that you spoke of?
Correct.
Okay. And then I guess I will just go on record to say I'm disappointed in the location choices. Was there some rationale as to why? A quick little Google map indication of 6-minute difference between Oxford and Lake Orion. Therefore, the people in Farmington, Novi, Southfield, Oak Park, Hazel Park, they have to then drive so far. What was the rationale there, if I'm understanding correctly?
Yeah.
So we do our best to have our collection events within the member communities that belong to the program. Most of the southern communities in the county belong to either ROSSOC or SACRA, the two solid waste authorities that do the same type of material collection for all of those residents. So we do our best to have it within our member community region. We have tried to move it over to the northwest a little bit in the past, and we hope to be able to go back there in Independence Township. There was some language in the contract with the school district, which is the site that we were using, related to COVID that no one was comfortable agreeing to. So we hope to get one back in that area to service those people that are more to the west. But for now, we have to have sites that are large. It's kind of a difficult to find sites that can queue all the cars that are in the line and accommodate the full space needed for our vendor who does all of the unloading and sorting of the materials, as well as staging all of their trailers there. So that's how we selected the sites for the year.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I can email to Board of Commissioners staff a map that shows the geography that Whitney's speaking of, and you'll be able to see that the no-haz communities are primarily in the northern part of the county, and that's where we hold the events.
Brett, you got to get out of my head. That's the question I was going to ask you.
Yeah, that's helpful, and
Yeah.
I appreciate you mentioning the RRRRA, whatever that acronym is. Yeah, so thank you.
Yeah. Now, Commissioner Markham.
My question is related to all of that. Do we have any communities in Oakland County that are not in either ROSSOC, SACRA, or the no-haz collection area? Are there communities that don't have any of this kind of service available yet?
There are a handful of those. There are quite a few that run their own program, maybe through their waste hauler once a year. But for communities that do not offer any program, there are a handful of those. we do invite communities to join NOHAS each year, those that either run their own program or who don't offer a program. So there aren't many, but and that will be included on the map. It states those that no program is offered through those communities.
Based on our data, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 communities currently don't have a program of some sort.
Okay, thank you. That was all I had.
Oh, okay. Any, Commissioner Charles, then Commissioner Spiz, then back to Commissioner White. Okay. I mean, Cavell, I'm sorry. Jeez. Charlie, go ahead, Commissioner
Thanks.
Cavell, then Commissioner
I was just,
White.
Brett, I was wondering if we could talk more about this. I don't know if you're busy on March 17th or anything, but if you are, please tell me what you're busy with.
March 17th?
The Main Street thing.
Oh, yes.
Jeez, this guy doesn't even know.
You left him out, you let him.
Patrick's Day.
I don't have my
That's
paper
what I
calendar
thought.
with
Can lead him to water, but you can't make him drink, huh? Okay. I was going to give you an opportunity to pitch it to us. I know we're talking about NOHAS, but.
Well, let's do that, we could do that after,
Okay.
because we got the resolution here, yeah. And then Commissioner White for a second time.
Just to follow up, so out of that 4,400, I mean, what were some of them, do you have statistics on what other communities outside of the North Oakland area that people came from?
Yeah, there was 130 non-participating, 130 vehicles from non-participating communities. So we do track that data, and those we do charge an additional fee because they're not part of the official program.
Okay. And when people register, do you educate them that there might be a closer place to them? Or is that not part of the system?
Yeah, Whitney,
Primarily, we geocode, if we have enough time before the collection event, the addresses to make sure that they know if they're not in a member community, that they're going to be charged this fee, or if they're a member of RASOC or SACRA or one of the independent programs, we try to get in touch with them ahead of time so that they can utilize those programs. A lot of times people just don't know, so it really is a matter of just reaching out to them and letting them know. So.
Any other discussion? I just had 2 questions. The first one is, what is the fee for a non-participating community for?
In 2021, it was $65. In 2022, it'll be $75.
Okay.
And that fee is discussed and determined by the participating communities. Now, in the communities that are participating, the cost is covered by either the local government entirely or a combination of the local government and the resident pays a fee. So the participating communities cover the cost of the program.
And so what does it cost the community that is not in that, if, when we get the list, if they're in our district, if we talk to them about, joining?
Yep, probably the best way to do that is connect Whitney to that individual, and Whitney can do a cost estimate, and she averages that potential new community in with all the currently participating communities to get a good weighted average of what their fee would be.
Thank you. That's all. Any other discussion? See no discussion, call the vote, prompt the vote.
You have 6-0 nays.
Motion carries. Thank you. And if you, Brad, if you want to real quick talk about March 17th, just because I know you have to go back to work, so I don't.
Yes, our downtown revitalization program in the Economic Development Department is called Main Street Oakland County. And on March 17th in the morning, we're having what we're calling a Main Street Summit. We're inviting the downtowns and downtown management organizations, local officials from all our participating Main Street communities to come out here to the county office and really have a debrief over how they pulled through the pandemic, what they learned, and what they see their needs are going forward. So we'll use this input at the summit to guide and modify and hopefully improve our program and services for those downtowns in the future.
Thank you. All right. Next one.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next agenda item we have is, we have the County Veteran Service Fund Grant Amendment. Moved by Commissioner Spiz, seconded by Commissioner Cavell. Good morning, Mr. Garth.
Morning, sir.
One of my favorite people, because he takes care of the people that we need to take care of, one of the people we have to take care of.
I appreciate that. This is a request to accept an additional funding from the Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency under the County Veteran Service Fund grant in the amount of $148,243. This is in addition to the $497,221, which was previously awarded. The legislature allocated some additional funding for this particular grant. So we would like to accept that and allocate those dollars towards some additional dollars towards advertising, additional dollars towards the transportation program that we're working on, and additional dollars towards the veteran hire program that we're working on.
Commissioner Wiper has first.
And when veteran fair, that portion's going to be for hiring veterans, right? So it was for hiring job opportunities, right? The Veterans Fair?
The Veterans Hire program is, we're working, and Ingrid, Ms. Ty is working on getting a program that is called Unite Us, where it's a software program that employers and those seeking employment can get on there and connect so that veterans can obtain employment. It also goes beyond that. It also provides other resources that veterans will be able to connect, so they'll be able to say, I'm interested in medical care, and it'll connect them to resources, or it will say, I'm interested in veterans benefits. It'll connect them to us. So although we characterize it as a veterans hire program, it will actually go beyond that when we get this up and running.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Spiz.
Since you brought that up, is there a cost associated with that program? I'm assuming it's a software that we use. Is there a monthly fee, an annual fee, a licensing fee? How do we end up paying for that?
There is a fee, and we're still working with them. They've talked about an initial fee for setup, and then what happens is after the initial setup, and Director Ty can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but after the initial setup, that those that want to participate may pay a small fee to participate in that program that would essentially pay for our licensing fee going forward.
I guess when you say they, who is they? Is that us as the county, or is that the veteran themselves?
No, excuse me, it would be employers or resources that, but one of the things that they made clear is like nonprofit resources, things like that would not have to pay any kind of a fee. It would be those that were for-profit corporations, things like that, that wanted to hire veterans would have a small fee to actually get into the program.
Okay, when you say small fee, do we have an idea? Are we talking based on
We
the
do
size
not.
of
We're
the
still-
company? Is it based on the number of employees? I mean, there's many different structures that I've seen, and some personally have been structured in a way that it pushes people away from participating, because the larger your corporation, who has a larger opportunity to hire people, it costs them a lot more because their company's so big.
Yeah.
So they'd rather, I can go through normal streams versus going through this stream.
Yeah, Commissioner, we are actually still in conversation with them about some of the particulars. So right now, we're just at the phase of, we've gotten an overall quote for the larger program items, and then so some of these other nuances to that, we're still working through that right now.
Okay, and does this grant allow for us to fund that program through the grant, or is it?
Some of it.
Some of it.
Some of it, yes. Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Cavell.
Thank you. So, Garth and Ingrid, Commissioner Spiz made me think of something. So if this new funding is going towards helping fund some of this program, what happens if we don't get this extra bonus money next year? Will this affect the implementation or continuation of the program?
So what we're doing right now is looking to see if we can get philanthropic matching dollars too, or even corporate dollars. There are a lot of companies that have the mission of hiring. So that's part of this process is seeing if we can leverage those funds and develop those relationships.
And the gap you'd need to fill is not just $50,000, but it's 50,000 and then some.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Spiz?
One final question.
That's all you get?
Was there any rationale between the breakup of the 50/50 and the 48 on how you distributed that? Or is it just what you felt comfortable with?
Those are just areas that we felt that we could utilize the additional grant funding that we have received. The transportation program, we're working with SMART, and we've got the MOA drafted. Corp Council's gone over it. They've sent it to SMART's legal team. So we're hoping to kick that program off April 1st. So we wanted to make sure that we had enough money to make sure that that program would be fully funded for the rest of this fiscal year and hopefully get it well established. And then the other, we wanted to add some marketing funding just to, again, promote that transportation program. And then with regards to the veteran hire program, it was the software that we were looking at is a little bit more expensive than we initially anticipated, so that's why we wanted to allocate additional.
All right, thank you, because I know the transportation was a little contentious at the last meeting.
Yeah.
Commissioner Cavalcas?
Yeah, about the transportation thing. Does the MOA with SMART and this extra funding allow for giving veterans the ability to go to the grocery store and other things? Because I know beforehand it was just to go to the VA or veterans approved meetings, which did not include grocery store or pharmacy or what have you.
It does not. The grant program, the County Veteran Service Fund grant is intended to connect veterans to federal benefits. So what the idea is to get them into our office so that we can do those applications and get them connected to those benefits.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Wiper?
And Garth, it's kind of related. Earlier in the consent agenda, we approved $5,000 for you guys to send 10, it said sending 10 people for training Kalamazoo. Is that going to help you implement some of these programs? You're sending your counselors?
That is actually our annual, we're required to maintain our accreditation with the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. We're required to get at least 16 hours of continuing education in specific subjects. So the Michigan Veterans Affairs, Michigan Association of County Veterans Counselors Spring Conference provides us with those 16 hours of CEUs so that we can maintain our accreditation. So that, in that respect, it is essential because in order to apply for any VA benefits, we have to be accredited with the VA. So, and that state of Michigan actually pays all of our expenses to go to that conference and to receive those CEUs.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Any other discussion? I have two questions. First one is, so does this cover all veterans in Oakland County?
Yes, we've the agreement with SMART that we've come up with regarding transportation. We understand SMART doesn't serve all communities, so they have to contract with other agencies, whether it's NODA or WODA, to make sure that they will be able to provide transportation from anywhere in Oakland County to our two offices.
All right, I appreciate that. And the second one is more of a question is, I'd like to partner and see if we could do a higher fare for veterans, right, with Oakland County and the veterans, especially with the governor's new H2H 500K, right? I know as me as a tradesperson, as long as they're, and I'm sure you guys know this, but for the committee here is, as long as they're DD 214 when they get discharged says they've worked with equipment, or if they're an electrician, it gives them a direct entry into an apprenticeship. And they don't have to take a test, there's just direct entry. So I'd like to do that. If we do a fair with, the people that are involved with H-States on trades and even businesses, with, it doesn't have to be just trades, but businesses too, to have kind of like we've done before, like the business fair for veterans. I think that'd be a great idea.
Yeah, we are actually partnering with Michigan Works more now. As of this week, we've actually got a counselor out in the Novi Michigan Works, one in Oak Park and one in Southfield. So we are working with them, and I think we're gonna be able to collaborate and come up with some good programs in that regard. And then as a matter of information, we are having a Veterans Resource Fair. We've been having them every month, one a month, and then one for March will be March 31st, will be in Novi at the Civic Center there. So I would encourage Commissioner Miller to come out to that and be a part of that opportunity to connect with veterans.
And what was
Garth, do
the,
you want to just, sorry, Commissioner, I was going to say, Garth, do you want to just talk about who all the various partners are and stakeholders that attend those fairs? Because I think that's really helpful for them to.
Yeah, we have a variety of individuals that come. Obviously, our office is there through this grant. Another part of this grant is we've been able to get $50 Meyer gift cards that we give out at those resource fairs. So we use that kind of as an incentive for veterans to come out to the resource fair. They register, have a DD-214, they get a $50 Meyer food card, which can be used for food and sundry items, cleaning items, things like that. We also have the Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency, which is out there, Oakland Community Health Network, other vendors, National Cemetery. We do have some DTE is out there to provide energy audits and free CFL light bulbs and things like that. We've also got the VA Medical Center, which is there and is providing booster shots, or if somebody needs their initial immunization, they can get that from the VA Medical Center there. They're in attendance there also. We have FedEx, which is a large hiring company. They're there to talk to individuals. We've got some other vendors that actually provide free they're called cap telephones, where a lot of veterans have severe hearing loss. They can't hear. So this phone gives them a screen that when somebody calls, it prints out what they're saying and allows them to actually be able to communicate via phone. So, and those are free of charge. So those are some of the vendors that we have at these events. So we've had real good success. We've had, generally the attendance is between 80 to 100 veterans, which is, in my view, a very good number nowadays. It seems like it's hard to get people out to events, but we've been pretty successful, and I think the Meyer gift cards are probably a big reason for that.
yeah, definitely, thank you. I definitely will reach out to you about that event, see if we can kind of do some partnership.
Sounds great.
Commissioner Cavell has a question.
Yeah, I'm sorry to ask one more thing, but my dad was a veteran. He did a couple enlistments in the Army, and he then drove for the VA as like a volunteer. So I'm wondering, I'm sure that happens around here with the VA, but is there any opportunity as relates to veterans and transportation with OCA Veterans Affairs with what Ingrid and Garth do, or is that not enough capacity? Teach me.
We do have a transportation program that we've run for many years that transports veterans to the VA medical centers in Detroit and Ann Arbor. It operates Tuesday through Friday.
Okay.
It's also a wheelchair accessible van, so that if somebody is in their home in a wheelchair, can't get into our office to ride the van, we will go pick them up from their home and transfer them to either, again, VA Medical Center Detroit or VA Medical Center Ann Arbor. So
Right.
we just hired our new client transporter. She started yesterday. So that program continues to run. And at some point, we want to use the smart transportation program as kind of a feeder where they'll get people into our office, and then they'll get on our van, and we'll take them down to the hospital, get them back to our office, then Smart will take them back to their homes.
Right, okay, but not, again, that's what my dad did, but not to pharmacy or groceries or anything, just VA stuff. Okay. Okay, thank you. And I know that's a state federal thing, not a y'all thing, but I appreciate you. Okay.
All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll prompt the vote. Call the roll, please.
Yeah, 6 yeas, 0 nays.
6 yeas, 0 nays, motion carries. We appreciate your time. Thank you for jumping on with us and answering all our questions. I look forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you very much.
All right. Now we have our next agenda item, which is intent to reimburse project costs from bond proceedings. Moved by Commissioner Wiper, seconded by Commissioner Markham. Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Chairperson, Commissioner Sid Lockhart here on behalf of Jim Nash. With me have Amy Pluff, our chief of our water department, and Eric McLaughlin from Dickinson Wright Bond Council, and Steve Burke from MFCI, our financial advisor. So here today, there's two resolutions and one after this. First one is the intent to authorize bonds and reimburse our project costs. This is from the hard work of Amy's group of working with the state drinking water revolving loan fund to capture this loan with 100% principal forgiveness of $5 million. And this is for changing lead service lines in the southwest portion of the city of Pontiac. There's a big need, about 8,000 total. With this, we hope to capture possibly 1,000. The state isn't giving us 100% of the project cost. This is kind of like maybe about half of the cost. And we kind of have some matching funds, not clearly identified the way the program is set up with the state, but they're capping the per household match of like $5,000. So, and I think the average costs about $8,000 to $10,000 per house. And they also don't cover the engineering cost to oversee and design this project. So we're getting what we can out of them. The need's a lot bigger. And we're here to get this moved forward with the county with its full faith and credit. Maybe later in the resolution, but first is the intent, then second is to authorize. So we're here to answer any questions if you have any.
Commissioner Wiper?
On the 5 million, your 5 million is only going to cover 1,000 out of 8,000?
It won't even cover that because we have, the average cost is 8,000 to 10,000 per house, and the state's only giving us 5,000 per house as a cap, essentially. There's 8,000 total lines in Pontiac we need to change. And if you figure it's like 10,000 roughly a house, that's a big ticket number, 80 million.
Wow. And when is the reimbursement? How long is the project going to take, and when does the reimbursement happen?
The reimbursement typically happens with them as an as-needed basis. So like month by month, we'll take these on and then, accumulate costs out of pocket, and then we turn it into them, then they reimburse us typically. Leo Lease and Fiscal Services usually does those draw requests for us on a monthly basis. And as far as the project goes, I think maybe a year or two, Amy. I don't know what the total duration. 3 years. There you go.
Thank you.
Commissioner Spiz and Commissioner Cavell.
Yeah, I'm a little confused. I'm not clear on exactly how the funding stream is going to work, how the payback period is going to work, what the county's going to fund, what Pontiac's going to fund, what the homeowner's going to fund, what the state's going to fund. I'm just a little confused on how all that's going to intermix together.
Well, the state's going to fund $5 million.
Right.
And instead of giving us a grant, they do it in a loan for some reason. They decided they're not giving grant money out for any of it. This isn't new money that we're all talking about for infrastructure. This is like old money still. The new money hasn't been figured out yet by the EPA or the state. So they're doing this as a loan. So you have to get a loan with the state, and they're giving us 100% principal forgiveness in the $5 million. And the residents aren't paying anything. This is covered by the system funds, not county general funds. The system funds are the matching funds. If a house costs $8,000, our system takes care of that. So we'll turn that $8,000 to the state on a monthly draw request, say per house, and then they'll give us $5,000 per house. So the balance is anticipated to be $3 million roughly to cover these expenses for these houses we're trying to target in the southwest portion of Pontiac.
No, I'm still confused.
I think there's a little more clarity that needs.
Could you perhaps do it per house? I know you were saying you kind of dipped into that, and forgive our ignorance, but if it's 8,000 per house, then
Well, roughly, that estimate, 8,000 to 10,000 per house.
Yep.
And the state is only paying 5,000 per house. We're getting reimbursed at 5,000. That's the cap. They capped it at 5,000 per house.
and then the other 3 comes from where?
It comes from our system funds for Pontiac Water.
Meaning the ratepayers.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And it's not like it's, that's money we have in reserves for this project. So it's been collected over time. We already have the money. And so, say we have 15 houses in a month that we do, those costs get racked up. We turn those into the state and they give us back $5,000 per house on a monthly request, reimbursement request.
So there'll be no additional request for monies from the homeowners since it's going to come out of the funds we've already accumulated.
Correct.
By operating their system for them. Okay.
That's correct. Yeah.
Thank you. Now,
Yeah, it's a very convoluted program, the way they set this whole thing up. There's lots of separate ways to do it for sure, and they pick one of the most complicated. And what it also forced us to do, instead of we've had grants before with EPA, less with some with the state, but they decided this is the way going forward. So all the money that we're talking, future money going through is all going to be probably done this way that I know of, not grants, but it forces us to borrow, go through this borrowing process to pay our bond counsel, financial advisor. So it just increases project costs, or it could be actually changing more lead service lines for that kind of.
Commissioner Cavell?
And Eric and Steve can correct me if I'm misspeaking here, but I think I'm pretty close.
So I have kind of two broad questions. One to go off what Commissioner Spiz was saying. If the funds are already reserved based on the ratepayers having paid into this, why do you need $5 million in bonds?
This is free money. This is forgiven. The $5 million is forgiven, and we have system reserve. We don't have $80 million to do all the lead service lines. This is just reserves that accumulate over years of different collections. We're not collecting money specifically for this. I mean, there may be a little bit, but the need is 80 million, roughly 40 to 80 million, because they're 5 to 8,000, 5,000 to 10,000 a house, roughly. Then the way these things fluctuate. Some houses are easier, some are tougher to do on these lead service lines, but this is free money for the state for this program.
And you say free money
So
because it's
5 million,
you say free money
principal
because it's
forgiveness.
principal forgiveness.
100%.
Okay.
We have other issues before the committee in the past, like for our Pontiac treatment plant, where we have $1 million or $2 million of say a $30 million loan forgiven. A fraction of. They have these rules and they change them all the time, but this one is $5 million of 100% forgiveness.
Okay, thank you for that. So the second question was, do you happen to know how many, if you know the Pontiac lead lines, do you know lead lines throughout the county, even if it's a rough number? And also talking about septic in Brandon, right? Or Leonard Township, and then also,
pretty much all north.
and then also Southfield? Do you have those numbers somewhere, and are they readily accessible?
We don't operate those other systems that you
Okay.
mentioned. The one we do is Royal Oak Township.
Okay.
That we don't operate Southfield. Royal Oak Township we're in charge of, and Pontiac we're in charge of. But we do operate other communities under contract, with our DPW contract for the water and sewer. As far as septics in Leonard, I know Commissioner Nash is trying to get money from the state, and the county for that matter, to deal with septics in Leonard. No one's coming to the table yet with anything,
Sure.
but he's trying very hard. We're also trying very hard at Royal Oak Township. Pontiac at least has commercial development, the county seats here. There's other, entities in Pontiac besides residents to help fund these kind of projects. The way our system reserves, we get some money that builds up. Royal Oak Township is tougher. It's only 750 people roughly in Royal Oak Township.
2,400,
Or
but
you can
yes.
correct me, but maybe
No, on the
20 bigger, more connections, I guess.
1,100
But
lines.
yeah, but
1,100
there's less people, no industry. So we, if we'd like to get money for them at some point from the county and state, but we haven't any luck down there. So if you guys can shake loose some funds, we're happy to to get them on a tangent note.
Oh, Sid, you don't know about the $3 million state revolving water loan fund and the $400,000 we've allocated to that? We'll talk later, but
We need more. Well, Amy, happy to talk and take any money there is to offer. but
okay. So-
grants are better than loans.
So the big-
This is the hybrid.
The big thing I'm trying to lead us to here is we're going to be talking infrastructure and ARP at some point. I would love personally, and I don't know if everyone else would, to learn more about the problems that we could use some of the ARPA for as it relates to water and sewer with the WRC. So
Yep.
just
Hey,
throwing
call
that out
Commissioner
there.
Nash, and we'll get that kicked off.
Okay.
He's on that too, yeah.
So hopefully I've answered the questions and it's more clear. It is a convoluted system. Amy's navigated this so far. It's a lot of work actually turning the application in with SRF, more than people realize.
Yeah.
And it's even more on a month-by-month basis to go through a draw request every month also, rather than just getting grant money. It's very paperwork burdensome.
Understood. Okay.
Commissioner Spiz. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Markham, then Commissioner Spiz. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just to jump on, excuse me, that one more time, you think Pontiac's going to take about $80 million to replace all their lead service lines? What other communities do we have this problem in? And do you have any idea of what the big number is? Is it 500 million? Is it $1 billion? What do we know?
Amy can better answer that than me because I know she's been working on this longer than I have. Yeah, maybe your mic's off, Amy, I think. You're on mute. Oh, we can't hear you. I think she's muted.
Once she's up, it's their connection.
It's got to be her connection. She's unmuted.
So I know she's worked with the health department on this topic and other entities to know that. I'm in construction, so I haven't been part of those meetings, understand the total need. The systems that we're in charge of is Royal Township and Pontiac, so that's that we advocate the most, and those citizens need the most help, quite honestly. Let me see if I can call Amy here. Maybe get her on speaker. Amy, do you have enough?
Oh, now she's
You
coming
got to
through
mute your
double.
computer
Sid, mute
Sid.
yourself.
on your computer. Right, true.
Just hold up a piece of paper with it.
There you go.
Go old school.
Is it 2 billion?
Okay, Amy, can you hear us?
Yes, my two still double.
Yeah, put in the chat like Commissioner Spiz said. Just yep.
Hey, Sid, if you just mute your
then we
device
can't hear
and
You can't, then you can't hear
not your mic, your output.
Whoa.
Turn down the speakers.
Yeah.
There we go.
And then Amy, if you want to try to log off and log back on, it sometimes will reset your microphone.
It's like the Wizard
Or
of
just
Oz right
put
here.
the number in the
Somebody's
chat too.
speaking, we
Amy.
don't see him.
Chat works.
Yeah.
You could.
So while she's doing that, I have a question. Is this going to follow the county's responsive contracting policy? The work?
You mean the procurement you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, it's been procured actually under federal guidelines also.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Technically doesn't have to because they're like the road commissioner, they're the only entity.
Oh, interesting.
Sure.
Yes.
That's since they're under,
They're our agent.
their agent, road commission isn't ours. They're a separate entity.
Well, just
Water
like the
resource
sheriff's department
is.
is the same.
No.
Water Resources is our agent.
I'm saying they have their own. I thought
Let's see if it works now.
they have a meeting coming up with National.
Hi, can you hear me?
There we go.
Okay. Maybe-
All right, I apologize. I'm not sure what I did wrong. I apologize.
I hope you're right.
Yes, just sorry what I missed, but there are lead service lines throughout the county. They're more predominant in the southern portion of the county. So lead was more commonly used as a service line material up through, the early 1940s. That's about the break we see in Pontiac. Service lines up to about that age had some portion made of lead. So the older the community, that's where you would see more lead. So communities were required to submit a distribution system materials inventory to Eagle. I think it was 2 years ago, and we can pull that info off the website and provide it to you for their use. I don't have those numbers in front of me. I don't know those by each community, but yes, lead service lines are in a use throughout Oakland County and predominantly in older communities.
So places like Milford, Lyon Township, Farmington, where the communities were established a long time ago, we're going to find lead service lines all across the county that way. Okay.
Downtown Rochester, like Birmingham, like
Birmingham.
those places, yeah.
Yeah, Royal Oak, yeah. Think of the community there. Go ahead.
And what we did when the county got involved with Pontiac's water system under Tim Prince's efforts, and then Amy worked with our construction department, and we did this. We changed all the water meters out in the whole city. And so when you change a water meter, you can see the lead service line when it comes in. It usually connects to the meter. You have a visual on it. But there's also lead service potentially that's between the stop box and the main. So that's harder to identify, but Amy's crews have, through old records and things like that, kind of have an estimate of what those are. And if you have lead, Amy will explain to me, if you have lead in that area, then galvanized downstream, the state deems that as that's also lead contaminated, because the galvanized gets tuberculous catch up on the galvanized. So we're changing the lead into galvanized under the rules.
Going to PAX. Okay. I don't know if that's true. I do have one final question.
Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner Spitz.
And you originally stated it's about an $80 million cost for all of Pontiac. This is $5 million. So
Yeah.
this other $75 million difference, where does that come from, or when does it come from? Any
And that,
idea,
that's
or
an
you
estimate, 80 million. Say it's like $5,000 to $10,000 a house. Like that's
Yeah.
probably the extreme. Amy, would you say the 80 million?
Yeah, and it's very preliminary numbers. We're still kind of working through these preliminary numbers where, once we do more, we're hoping there's some, overall savings as you expand and do more of the system. And then we're going to learn more and hopefully have a better number for the actual number that need to be placed, and a better number for each, the cost for each. So yes, you're right. It's $5 million of a number, but it's a good start that we're excited to work towards here.
And that's why Commissioner Nash is always, lobbying and maneuvering and trying to get, grants for this kind of need, and for Pontiac and Roller Township. It's a big thing he works on all the time.
So, and basically, we're going to look to do 1,000 homes.
That's what this is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what the map
Yep.
is.
Yeah, okay.
Commissioner
Yeah.
Wiper.
Just to follow up on that, before we had your sound, Amy, you held up your hands 3 years. I mean, we're talking 3 years on 1,000 homes?
Yes.
And there's still
Yeah.
7,000 more homes?
We're working on that number somewhere in that range. Yes. Yep. And those will get through over the next 20 years or so. It's a long-term process.
Okay.
That was the point I was getting at. It's going to be 21 years.
Yes. It's not. This is a big effort, and it involves working directly with homeowners too, because we need to get into homes.
Okay, thank you.
Get it done.
Commissioner Cavell.
And we're happy to ramp it up faster if the county wants to give us, 50 million to get it going.
We were going to ask you guys for money.
Yeah, right.
Commissioner Cavell.
Yeah, don't you generate revenue? Shoot, we just take money.
No.
We don't make it. I was wondering from the group, and I don't know how to do this, so forgive my ignorance, but again, as we think about infrastructure and water being something that I think all of us have a vested interest in our communities, how do we, if people like, and this is to you, Chair, how do we get a, PowerPoint presentation or 10 minutes on an agenda just to know what we're working with, and then maybe wait for state and federal things to start flowing in? But at least knowing the lay of the land for WRC and OakGov's possible ability to serve.
We can reach out to Commissioner Nash.
Okay, is that how we do that? Okay,
Yep.
okay.
Commissioner Nash will be happy to come and talk that topic anytime it's scheduled.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none, prompt the vote. Call the roll, please.
You have 6 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion carries. Thank you, and thank you all for the discussion.
Yep, and we'll be here for the next one.
All right, next agenda item is authorization Oakland County, City of Pontiac Water Supply System bonds. Moved by Commissioner Spitz, second by Commissioner Wiper. Good morning again.
Good morning. And I'll let Eric McLaughlin just briefly touch on why we have two resolutions. And
Morning. Thank you, Sid. Commissioners, members of the committee, chairman of the committee, thank you for having me here this morning. The second resolution before you is the bond authorizing resolution. Typically, we would not bring them at the same meeting, but we are doing so today in order to adhere to the Michigan Finance Authority's timeline for third quarter financing. So normally what we would do is we would authorize the resolution you just approved, published notice of intent to start the 45-day referendum period for these types of bonds. And then some point during that 45-day referendum period, or even after just the expiration of it, then we bring the bond resolution back to you. But in order to adhere to the Michigan Finance Authority's third quarter financing timeline, we're bringing them both to you today for efficiency purposes. The bond resolution, if adopted today, won't really be effective until that 45-day referendum period has run. So if it's adopted today, we'll be ready to go once the expiration of that period has occurred. The bond resolution finally establishes the scope of the project to be financed. It sets the maximum amount that's going to be quote unquote borrowed. In this case, it will all be forgiven since the maximum amount is $5 million. And at closing, the Michigan Finance Authority is going to provide us with a zero payment schedule showing the $5 million and nothing to be repaid. In addition to that, it also sets the parameters and within which the bonds can be issued. In this DWRF program, the parameters are very narrow. The interest rate is already predetermined, and it really is just up to providing authority to the proper officials of WRC, including Mr. Nash, to finally determine the details of the bonds and sign the documents needed by a Michigan Finance Authority in order to complete this financing. The legal security that is being pledged for the repayment of these bonds that are going to be forgiven is the limited taxable faith and credit of the county. But as we've discussed, it is expected that any amount that would have to be repaid would be repaid first from system revenues, though the legal security would ultimately be the county's limited taxable faith and credit. To take that one step further, because of the high likelihood that all the costs will be reimbursed as planned through the $5 million money that is received through the DWRF program, there actually is not expected to be any impact on the county's limited taxable faith and credit other than this legal pledge being made in this resolution. So that's why we've got two resolutions before you today, and that's an overview of what this resolution does. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any discussion? Commissioner Wiper?
Just follow up, Sid mentioned it in passing that he wasn't too fond of this state loan program, than us having to sell bonds to get, what do you think about this system with the state doing it as a loan program versus a straight up grant?
I think the county stands to obtain $5 million in proceeds that it doesn't have to repay, and I'm in favor of that.
Okay. Man, that was a good answer.
What a good lawyer.
That was great.
You know, if we had a grant, Eric and Steve wouldn't be here, so I'll add that to the conversation.
Well, I mean,
yeah, I think the reason that there's this bond that is required is a function of the federal law that authorizes the money that has been given to the state that the state is passing through its CWRF program. So this is not necessarily a state requirement. This is part of the state complying with its federal requirements in order to get the money to pass this on to you all. If this is a structure that continues on in the future, then we'll help the county through it. If they want to switch to grant, that's fine as well. Or if it has to go back to the more traditional bond financing, of course, that works as well. But for now, like I said, it's $5 million that is not going to have to be repaid if spent properly, and I'm in favor of that.
Thank you.
And expand on that topic, for Pontiac, it's a bigger system, like I say, commercial properties and other developed properties like that to help the residents. But Rural Township, we don't have the funds of Rural Oak to pay Eric or Steve to get a loan. So that's what really falls apart for those kind of communities.
any other discussion? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Sid.
Oh, and just one more thing to add. Then the rate pressure for our citizens in Pontiac is great because this is the water demand, right? Our sewer department is working like tons and tons of hours in cleaning and jetting the sewers and trying to get a handle on what's broke, what's not broken, televising it. And same for the treatment plant. We have a lot of money going to the treatment plant. There's another, I think, $70 million over 5 years needs to be spent on the treatment plant. So all that, pushes on the Pontiac residents to pay. So the more grants we can get and do, and thank you for Amy's group for chasing this down to us, a lot of effort just to get this $5 million, but the need is a lot greater anyway for the committee's reference.
Any other discussion? So just to add to what Eric was saying, is my understanding of this whole thing is as you were saying, is the state has to show that they're spending the money. So if they gave it as a grant, there's no proof per address what they're doing. So when we get reimbursed, they add it to their Excel sheet saying, okay, these are the money we gave out, these are the addresses or the areas that we fixed to give to the federal,
Excel sheet.
or Excel.
I'm hoping it's better than an Excel sheet.
Well, hey, I just use that because I'm a simple computer guy, so that works for me. But that's
And I'd
just,
be happy to do the same thing for a grant. I've administered a lot of grants in my career. With Amy, actually used to work with Rosick and Kelly Cave at the Wayne County, Rouge Program Office, and I've had a lot of grants in my career. Some with the state SRF a little bit, but usually that's a loan and it'll sprinkle in a grant here or there. But
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
yeah, we're happy to take the free money as for however we can get it. To help our residents out.
All
So
right.
we'll take it wherever we can get it.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, call the vote, prompt the vote.
Coming along, isn't he? He's coming along, isn't he, with the prompt vote thing? Let me get back.
This is one reason the Water Resources Commission.
Yeah, 6 yeas, 0 nays.
6 yeas, 0 nays, motion carries. Thank you all, and thank you for the conversation.
Hey, thank you, Commissioners. Appreciate it greatly.
Thank you. Next agenda item, we have the 2021 CRRSAA Agreement and Reimbursement Request Subgrant number VLL-13021. Moved by Commissioner Wiper, seconded by Commissioner Markham.
You skipped one.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, you're right, I did. I apologize. Let me go back. We got let me go back here. It's the,
Subgrant number PTK.
yeah, I missed the PTK one. That's my apology. So it's the 2021 CRRSAA Agreement and Reimbursement Request Subgrant number PTK 1321. Moved by Commissioner Wiper, seconded by Commissioner Markham. Thank you for the correction, Commissioner Spiz.
That's what I'm here for.
I like it. Teamwork makes the dream work. Good morning, Ms. Bush.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, Commissioners. As stated, we are seeking grant acceptance for a reimbursement grant issued through the FAA through MDOT. This first grant is for Oakland County International Airport. It's reimbursement of operational expenses during 21. And this is the CRISA Act, which is the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriation Act. So we are submitting reimbursement for operational expenses up to $57,000 for Oakland County International.
All right, any discussion?
Yes, maybe I'm
Commissioner
jumping
Spitz.
ahead, but all three of them look to be identical, other than the dollar amount. Am I
Yes.
wrong?
Right.
That's true.
Okay, there's a reason they have to be three separate ones versus one?
It's the different
Grant.
airports.
Three different airports?
They're each a sub-grant with their own individual number, and that's the way that the state set it up.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Markham and then Commissioner Cavell.
And as I read them, each one is specific to one of our 3 airports.
Correct.
So that's why there's 3 of them.
So it's $57,000 for Pontiac, $20,000 for Troy, and $13,000 for Oakland South.
Right, okay, thank you. Just wanted to clarify that.
Yes.
All right, Commissioner Cavell.
Yeah, and this might not be an answer you have, Ms. Bush, but in our board packet, the final CRRSAA grant had something in the item summary about CARES Act. So is this going back to CARES Act for reimbursement, or because that's different than the CRRSAA? Does anyone know that? Do you want to see that? In our-
My understanding it's similar, but they are separate.
Right. So is that just a typo from staff?
Not that I know.
And I think
Okay.
that the
Okay.
that the overall CARES program includes the CRISA grants.
Understood. Thank you.
I
Okay,
believe
that's not a
that's-
you thing, that's a us thing. Thank you, Ms. Bush.
Yeah.
Sure.
Any other discussion on this? Hear none, call the vote, prompt the vote.
Poor Aaron.
Yeah, 680.
6 yeas, 0 nays, motion carries. Thank you. Next,
Thank you very much.
Next agenda item, we have 2021 CRRSAA Agreement and Reimbursement Request Subgrant Number VLL 13021. Moved by Commissioner Markham, seconded by Commissioner Charles. Good morning again, Ms. Bush.
Good morning again. And yes, this is the Troy grant for the same program in the amount of $23,000.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none discussion, call the roll, prompt the vote, please.
Yeah, 680.
6 yeas, 0 nays. Thank you. Next agenda item we have is 2021 CRRSAA Agreement and Reimbursement Request Subgrant Number Y471302. Moved by Commissioner Wiper, second by Commissioner Charles.
It has a Y in it.
Oh, did I say Y? I said Y, didn't I? I said Y47.
That's why I wanted to be a part of it.
Oh, okay. Oh, I got it now. I was like, wait a minute, I said Y. Good morning again, Ms. Bush, for the third time.
Good morning again. And yes, this is the same grant. Again, this is for Oakland Southwest in the amount of $13,000 available for reimbursement.
All right, it's the Yolanda 47.
Echo.
Any other discussion? Hear none, prompt the vote, call the vote, please.
Zero nays.
6 yeas, 0 nays, motion carries. Thank you very much for your time, Ms. Bush, and your
Thank
willingness
you.
to come.
Appreciate it.
And now we will start with our second public comment. Each person will have 3 minutes. Anybody from the public would like to speak? If you just state your name and the city you're from.
Good morning, my name is Heather Smiley, I'm from Lake Orion. I know we've got here a little late for the first public comment. I'm just listening and I hear a lot of the priorities are twisted. I mean, as far as, we'll just talk about right now, the additional advertisement money for the vets. As a member of the American Legion, if you were to reach out to the American Legion, the Eagles, the VOA, anything like that, you'd be on every website, you'd be on every post. You wouldn't have to spend as much money on advertising. I think that's kind of a waste. Everyone's got access to the internet, I feel. And as far as the additional monies, transport, I love that, you know, you brought up the fact that we're not transporting for actual needs. I mean, going to the doctor is one thing, but food, maybe even visiting family, depending on, you know, their social status or whatnot. I'm all, again, for giving money to our vets and supporting them, but you guys are blowing money where you don't need to. As far as them being transported to an office to fill out an application, nowadays you can get food stamps, health insurance, file for a job, work from home. I think apps would actually save money as far as, you know, that kind of cost with gas and stuff. And as far as the infrastructure, I know we touched base a little bit on it. These lead pipes are pretty big deal. I guess I didn't know how big. I've heard of the Pontiac and whatnot. As it is right now, by your own, you know, tax fund statement, Oakland County's got a net of $209 million. $6 million of that goes to collections on taxes. There's only like $39 million that's owed on taxes. We could probably forgive some of the lower class people if they're having issues, or older people, seniors, vets, things of that nature. That would eliminate money that was wasted on collection services. You know, 10 to 20 years, I think, is crazy. I know we've got a lot of money that's coming from the federals. I think that would be a priority, making sure that people have clean water to drink, that we're not poisoning our own community. Wasted money on the airport. You know, that as of right now says that it is still a, you know, entity that makes money and provides money to the county, but yet it's now leased by the government, and they're asking for $57,000 to support it. Well, if it's leased by the government, no longer a public thing, government should pay that. I mean, it's minor, but still, why are we picking up the bill for something that we no longer have access to? That's probably bringing in refugees, illegals, things of that nature. As a community, back in the good old times, it was survival of the fittest. You didn't work, you didn't eat. Now we just throw money to unqualified people, able-bodied people that can go out and do stuff, and they're just sitting at home, taking in aid that can be given, again, to people with disabilities, people that physically can't go out and work for themselves, older people, sick people.
Thank you, Ms. Smiley.
Well, like I said, we need to get our priorities straight, and we need to actually also deal with, I know that's on the next table as far as the voting, transporting our ballots to other communities is ridiculous, and that's how we have fraud. So I do have things we can sign for IDs as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else for public comment? You can state your name and community you're from.
Well, here, I had it all lined up. Hang on a second. Great. It moved. Okay. Thank you. Good afternoon. My daughter did a great job covering most of the things I actually wanted to bring up. But I actually have a concern with the vets.
Could you state your name and location?
Oh, I'm sorry. I should have that down by now. Catherine Kennedy, Lake Orion. Sorry about that. Yeah, I need my own ID badge, right. So, and the vets grants, I really have a problem with the original $497,000. Out of that, $117,000 was already dedicated to advertising. It's shameful to me that it's really not services that are being paid for here. We're really paying staff to transport them from their home to come to the county to fill out federal paperwork, basically. And it just boggles my mind that we want to increase $48,000 more for more marketing. There's a total of 60,000 vets, so that means you're charging every single vet $2.75 a head to advertise what? That they can get money to come to your office to fill out forms? That's essentially what I see. The fact that you're using $50,000 for the hiring vets, I think Mr. Miller's idea to actually have a hiring event for vets is money well spent. To develop a creative software program for $50,000 and call it hiring vets is absurd. There is no need for that. It's a waste of money. To add transportation money when the vets cannot use that transportation to get food or go to their own doctor is offensive. I can't understand. I think Mr. Cavell brings up a great point, which he brought up last time this issue came up to begin with. So I do remember. That is exactly what the vets need. They need to be able to get food, and they need to go to their doctor. They do not need transportation to come to the county building to get federal funds. This is ridiculous. We have a lot of legions and other vet organizations that would gladly step up and offer their facilities for those types of things, I'm sure, for free. So it really offends me when we waste this much money and it's being used for things that are not really the priorities. And there's another paragraph that I want to point out. The chairman will execute the grant agreement and approve any grant extensions or changes within 15% of the original award, which are consistent with the original agreement as approved. That particular clause only seems to appear with sheriff resolutions, vet resolutions, and I find it completely offensive that the chairman gets authority to change any of these things, period. As a citizen, I object, and every single time that line occurs, it should be removed from the
Thank you, Ms.
document.
Kennedy.
And all the documents that say residents instead of citizens need to be corrected as well, because the funds that are being used are restricted to citizens under federal law. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, anybody else from the public looking to speak? Anybody else from the public looking to speak? Seeing no others from public comment, we'll call public comment closed. Now we have other business. Any other business to come before this committee? Any other business? Seeing none, we'll call adjournment at 10:42.